If you're thinking about adding a new dog to your home, there are so many options to consider, and one of those options is bringing a rescue dog home. Now, how are you going to set up? How are you going to make sure that that dog becomes a good fit for your life? Today, we've got an industry expert in the studio that we're talking about just that with. Welcome back to the McCann Dogs Podcast.
Val's been around for a long time. I've known Val, I bet, for 30 years.
It's got to be.
And it's hard to believe.
It sounds like you just called her old, but you know.
Exactly.
When time began, Val was there.
Yes, it's been a long time.
And Val, when I met Val, she had a yellow lab named Jake and a black lab named Ben.
Yes.
Okay. What do you have
Yes.
now? What are your dogs now?
I wasn't supposed to have this many at this age. However, I have
At this young age of what, like 37?
59. I have I'm going to get emotional.
Okay.
I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old yellow lab that I adopted at 2.5. And I have a almost 9-year-old Shih Tzu, which for me, I wouldn't normally have a Shih Tzu, but I took this puppy in from a bad situation, and he's going to be 9, and he's just the coolest little guy.
Amazing. What did you like about him that made you decide that he was not going anywhere?
Oh, he was just so freaking cute.
Okay.
Like he'd look at you sideways and
Val, I'm cute. Come on. You gotta give us better.
His eyeballs would go one way, his teeth were all going in another way.
So he did look like me.
And he was just so much fun to work with. And so
Val,
I tried to
Val
home-
grooms him so his head looks like a flower.
Oh.
He looks like a chrysanthemum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that on purpose?
Well, sometimes he has a Fu Manchu.
Okay.
So it just depends on the mood we are in.
Nice.
And then I have a chocolate Labrador,
Okay.
which I actually got through a student here at McCann's because he was too much for them.
Okay.
And
Do you keep him in the fridge being chocolate?
no, but I like to bite his ear. And
Taste ears.
yeah, he's 3, and he was 7.5 weeks when I met him.
Okay.
And the plan was not to keep him because that's another thing. I've rehomed a lot of dogs. I've assessed and rehomed a lot of dogs, rescue or otherwise.
Okay.
But I just kept them. I think the older I get, the harder it is for me to detach and let them go.
Gotcha.
And sometimes the dog picks you. Like, yeah, like there's something, there's something there. You guys found each other. Yes. Yeah. You can't deny it.
Do you feel that way? Like it was just meant to be and there was no turning back once this dog came into your home? Or was it like a gradual, slow burn?
With what other people see is different than what you see, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And when I I nicknamed him Squeak because he never barked. So the Shih Tzu, I took him to some classes for fun with friends and colleagues. And they're going, oh, Val's got a Shih Tzu. I said, yeah, no. I said, I'll rehome him. And they kept saying to me, oh, he's not going anywhere.
They saw something in your
They saw
reaction.
something that I didn't see.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And they just knew. They knew you better than you knew yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
He wasn't going anywhere. How many years ago was that?
Squeak is 9 in March.
And when did he come into your life?
He was 4 months old.
Okay, so he was a baby too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was a
And then the chocolate lab.
Ah, man. I just couldn't believe that they would have had an awesome dog if they would have been patient and just worked with
Gotcha.
him and trained him. Because at 7.5 weeks, I was kind of surprised I was seeing him.
Yeah.
I thought, why am I seeing a 7.5-week-old lab?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was they'd only had him 3 days and he was barking.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, so they really didn't have an idea what they were getting into, getting a
Right.
dog at all.
No.
If that was
No.
the...
Yes.
No.
Yep.
Okay.
I think people sometimes are surprised how overwhelming a puppy can be and how life-altering it can be, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for a first dog, he would have been the best dog probably they ever had. Yeah.
But they just couldn't get past the barking.
And that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay,
because
yes. Yeah. Right, yeah.
as, in my opinion, as dog trainers, we're there to help train dogs, but
Yeah.
we're also there to do what's right.
Yeah, for the dog.
Yeah.
Well, and for the family as well, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and better to have that decision made early rather than
Yes.
getting
Right.
heart involved and then it's a harder decision to make or getting resentful of the dog and then it's not necessarily a harder decision to make, but it's not a good place for anybody to be in. So,
No.
And when you talk about socialization, we often have to clarify what we mean by socialization when we talk about socialization. So give us your definition of socialization. What do you do with these dogs?
So I don't like to put a lot of pressure on a dog because I feel that causes a dog to go in a different direction within its mind.
Okay.
And that can create some problems. So for me, socialization is, if it's a puppy that I can carry, I'll go to Canadian Tire, I'll go to Walmart, I'll go to Costco's a great place because of the noises and sounds. I'll go to games out in the park. I go to the skate park all the time because I think, for kids, it's to me, kids and dogs are life's best bits.
Right.
So I might have that puppy up under my arm so it feels secure. It depends on what I see the puppy needs.
Okay.
If he's outgoing and he's ready to rumble, or if he's kind of a little bit scaredy pants.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then,
Would you take a puppy to a dog park and place him down?
Oh, God, no.
We absolutely 100% knew that was going to be the answer. We are constantly having to say, like, just avoid those dog parks.
I understand that. I understand why people use dog parks. I understand why people use boarding kennels. But it depends on the dog.
Yeah.
And what if they really want to use a dog park? I say, well, don't take your dog. You go and you watch all the dogs at the time of day that you'd want to go. You talk to the people, you interact. Because when I introduce a puppy to dogs, I never go puppy. I use a puppy with my adult dogs that are fair in play and discipline.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right? So the only time I usually use a dog park is when I'm working through distractions.
And you stay, I'm assuming, outside
way
of the dog
far
park.
away.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
just use those distractions. Fantastic.
Yeah, you never know what you're walking into at a dog park.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's the anonymity factor. I love the idea of going without the dog and just checking out the lay of the land and talking to the people. I think that's a fantastic idea.
That is a good idea. Yes,
I have.
It might change your mind too. You might watch and go, "Yeah, I don't want my dog in this."
I imagine my dog getting bowled over by that right now.
Right.
I have an article that I've written about how to use leash-free parks safely if that is your only option, because of course some people are really strapped for areas.
If you live in New York City, when I was in New York City, I went to one of the dog parks, and that was people's only choice. There was nowhere else to run a dog in New York City, and their dog park was dramatically different than what I've seen in our area because they have to behave. This is what they're like, and to me in New York City, possibly maybe I would put my dog in a dog park because of what I saw there was very different.
Well, and when the dog park is set up so it's more of like a walking trail space or like a big space that you would go and move around with your dog versus like a cage, right? Versus like a fence.
A boxing ring.
Exactly, a fenced fight club area where all the dogs are stuck in the same area. It has a very different feel.
Yes.
So I think that the parks in New York City probably mimic that.
Yeah, there was a lot of shrubbery and cedar chips and little stone paths, and it was quite different. And the dogs were kind of ignoring each other.
Yeah.
I didn't really see any play going on. Yeah, I think they're so accustomed to it.
When I spent a year in Scotland, and on my day off, I'd watch people with their dogs. And even just when people would approach each other on the street, they'd basically ignore the dogs. And the dogs got to relax versus, pulling up and panicking. Right. And I want to just say there's a guy that I watch on TikTok. He has a Borbal named Blade. And they walk along the shorelines. They walk in different open. All the dogs are off leash. There's some that are on leash.
What country is he in?
In Scotland.
In Scotland too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Blade's always off leash. And he's such a cool dude, and he's intact.
Okay.
And so you see them interacting, and some people just walk away with their dogs, but these people are training their dogs to come when they're called.
Yeah.
And even though it's in a very open, distracting environment, the dogs get used to the routine.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you say, so I just want to jump on that for a second. So you say these people are training their dogs to come when they're called. you mean they're actually physically setting out with the intention of practicing their recall, and then they're using those distractions as part of the recall, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
and doing the other things they do also, it becomes, when a routine becomes very familiar with the dog.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think because they do it so often, they go, okay, and it's interesting to watch the Borble make choices.
Mm-hmm.
He might stand there, he might posture, but I think he's got an original kind soul.
Okay.
And he's not looking for trouble.
Okay, what do you mean by that when you say original kind soul? I like the way you said that.
I look at temperament and personality, and he displays, like, he'll stand there and his little nub will go really fast, and he might have a little hackle up. He looks like he's trying to be a big boy, but he's making decisions.
Okay.
And then if the owner sees something that the other dog might not be comfortable with, he calls him off.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But he's just that dog.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, dog behavior is so interesting.
It really is.
It's funny, and there's so many facets of it. Like, I love just watching dogs interact. You see so many
Oh
different
my
things.
gosh, the conversations.
Right? Yes, yes, and even other animals too. Like, it's fun to watch the squirrels do different things, and that too. And I it's part of me. I think that's been awakened by having animals and pets. And
Yeah,
yes.
I would agree with that 100%. 100%. We had a big conversation last podcast about the squirrels. I won't go down that road again.
No, we talk too much about squirrels probably on podcasts.
We should have a squirrel guest on the
Yes.
podcast. I wonder if Alvin's available.
And it's so
no, those are chipmunks.
And it's so funny because for anyone who's listening to us who's not in Southern Ontario has more squirrels than humans. Yeah. So we walk out and it's just this like panic of squirrels everywhere.
Our next prime minister, it's going to be a squirrel.
Because when I lived out east, I barely saw squirrels. I lived in the Maritimes and I barely saw squirrels. But here in Ontario, they're a dime a dozen.
Oh, that's funny. What about chipmunks out there?
I don't remember seeing. All I saw was red squirrels.
Huh.
The red squirrels, and not that many of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they were ready to take you on in a fight. They come down the tree and ready to take me on.
Those darn squirrels. Yeah.
Tough
They got some
little
attitude.
things. Yes.
They do have some attitude.
I have one that I thought he was gone, but he's back. And on the home that I'm at, it has a long front porch, an old farm porch. And that red squirrel, I could have 4 or 5 dogs on that porch. And that red squirrel comes and sits on the fence and it just chits at them. And the dog, and I go, okay, guys, leave it. And I'm pretty lucky they're leaving it.
Yeah.
But I think they're just blown away that he's that close. And he's like,
Yeah, and he's nattering at them. Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
They're brave.
Yeah, I love how they get so angry
Yes,
when
they do.
The dogs see them and they take off, and then the squirrels are like from up in the tree at the dogs. And I'm just like, goodness. Yeah. Anyways, okay.
But we're digressing.
We did.
Yes.
We're talking squirrel behavior.
Right.
Now.
Yes.
Who's qualified in this room to talk about squirrel behavior? I feel grossly underqualified. So I can talk about them nattering. That's it.
Right. Yeah. So, Val, when you bring a new dog into your house, how do you set everything up? Like, do you just plunk them down and there you go, or?
Okay. So you've got to remember, my house would be different than someone bringing home one puppy. Right. So, but I still believe I like to attach to the puppy first before I put any pressure on it to be exposed to other dogs.
Okay, yeah, that's
now,
fair.
The thing is, every dog is unique. So I could expose it one earlier than another. But usually, if we're talking rescue dog or puppy.
Let's talk rescue dog, because we talk a lot about puppies, and I think you'll probably have a really good, unique perspective for us with rescue dogs. So
I've done a lot of rescue dogs, and so first of all, I have to protect my own dogs because I don't know this dog.
Yeah.
Right. And
sorry, I'm going to interrupt and throw questions at you because I have so many questions blinking in my head right now.
And she's very rude.
No, she's not. She's not.
She's not rude.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what are your concerns first and foremost that you're ensuring that you're protecting your dogs from these new dogs coming into your home?
Well, so what I do when I bring a new dog in, I've already got the place set up. So that new dog has its own space.
Okay, good.
Okay, and I have the ability to do that at this location where I am. So I have everything done in advance before I bring that puppy in or that dog in. If it's a dog that, let's just say I'm assessing and there has been no indication that it's aggressive towards people.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you one that was aggressive towards people and what I did.
Okay.
But usually pet owners don't want to deal with that right away. So if I've got a dog that I'm uncertain of his relationship towards people, I'll have it on a lead and I don't even talk to it. I just bring it in because that connection for the dog is enough.
Right.
Right.
And you specifically avoid talking. Why is that?
I think I try and look at the mental state of the dog. I don't know anything about the dog. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the dog doesn't speak English. Like, honestly, we're getting a lot of dogs come from other countries. And stuff,
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So it's all about body language.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you could have a dog that's had zero training whatsoever and has no idea of any of the keywords that anybody would use. And
so it might sound kind of harsh, but I feel I give my love, what I want to the dog just through handling.
Okay.
So I would bring the dog in. Usually I would bring it in the front entrance way. And then it would have the whole section of my house that's just for him and I. And then it also has the ability to go out into a different yard than my regular dogs do.
Okay.
And all that is separating my dogs from the new dog is usually the gate in the house. Okay. If the dog,
like a baby gate, you mean?
I have built-in gates.
Okay.
So if it's something...
Sorry, is it like pony wall gate or...
No, it's a wooden solid gate
that
clamps shut.
Okay. And
it's
you can
probably
see over it or...
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's all open. Dogs can't stick their head through. It's a nice wooden gate.
Okay.
So then I might have an X-pen or a crate or both set up in this living room area. That's where my dog stays, which is my new dog stays, which is also easy access to going outside for his personal space. Right? So, they always talk about a 3-week honeymoon period.
Yes.
So I like people to understand that time is for the dog to decompress and to start to develop a relationship. I don't walk dogs on the street. When people come to me and they say, well, I took him for a walk and he was really reactive. Well, he doesn't have a relationship with you.
Right.
So he's acting like a dog.
Yeah.
Right? So let's prevent that behavior from starting by developing a relationship just with the dog. And for me, that's done through the dog being in my home, interacting with me giving it everything it needs. And remember, I don't know where this dog's come from. So he's adjusting to the sights and sounds and smells of my house.
Right.
He's adjusting to me.
Right. So you're truly treating him like a blank slate. It's almost like he's a newborn puppy that's come to your house.
That's right. Now, I have to get to know him. I watch his body language. I watch his reactions to sights and sounds and smells. I watch how he plays outside. We do this because we love dogs,
yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
So I've gone to people's homes when they've taken in a rescue dog and they can't get that dog from behind a shed in their backyard because that dog is so scared. I want that dog to learn to trust me.
Right.
So not too much pressure. This is where you eat. This is where you sleep. This is where you go to the bathroom. You and I'll hang out. If you don't want to come up and sit with me, that's fine. I don't do sits and downs and...
Yeah, and you don't go into their space and put pressure on them to try to make friends. You sit back and provide a calming energy, I'm sure, and allow them to approach you then?
Yes, and if I can actually... And my feeding routine is different with a rescue dog.
Okay.
If I see some apprehension with regards to possible food aggression, I will deal with that differently.
Okay.
But if I don't see any of that... I will get the food ready, I'll get the routine ready, and I will take a portion of the food first before I give it to the dog. I'll feed the dog. I'll use it to start to connect with the dog with a leash so that he can trust me.
Okay.
Right? And we all know that food calms a dog's brain down. If they won't eat, that tells me something else.
Absolutely.
Right.
So if the dog won't eat, are you adjusting your approach? Are you taking yourself out of the room? Like what's your thought process at that point when you see, okay, the stress level is obviously higher than what I would like?
As long as I don't feel the dog's brain has gone to the point where he's going to try and bite me. Okay, I'll just I'll make it like it's not a big deal. I don't go up to the dog like this. Right.
Even that felt weird to me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
it
might
looks
either
kind of awkward from
yeah,
across the
right,
room.
yeah.
So
Well,
I was glad Val's on your couch.
So I might try a slip lead on the dog. Okay. But I'm in a safe area. I never take a dog out where it's not safe, fenced in, right?
Yep.
Or I might just make it not a big deal. I'll approach the dog from the side, clip it on, and then go. I never bend down going, come on, little dog. Yeah, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute, because it's so what we actually do when we have a dog who's feeling that pressure is so counterintuitive to what most people want to do, which of course, as you know, what I'm talking about is that coochie cooey, getting in their face, getting into their space, trying to make friends with them by pretending, and not pretending, we are nicey nice people, but by being super nicey nice, and the dog goes, you're in my space, you're putting more pressure on me, I don't understand, because that's not the language they're speaking. And like, it just becomes this chaotic mess for the dog. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that people's intuition often tells them to try to embrace and hug and kiss and, love, right? And you use the word love. So what does love look like from your perspective?
My love for dogs is in here, but my thought process when it comes to working with a dog is that I can love them by giving them a good routine, getting them to learn to trust me, because if they can trust me, that will be easier for them to respect me, right? And I want the dog to understand that I will train it and give it the direction it needs to be successful.
Okay.
Because dogs want to please you. Not too many dogs just want, unless it's history or whatever, they want to interact and they want to hang out with you. And the more we can do with them helps to develop their brain and say, oh my God, that was so much fun. Let's do that again.
Right.
Instead of wanting to chase squirrels or run away from you.
Right.
Right. Yes.
So is there anything within that system that you sort of, where you will sort of push a little bit to try to get a little bit more out of the dog? Or do you just sit back and let the dog sort of come to you on their own to build that trust? And what does the trust look like?
Okay, so for me, the trust is about routine for one. Okay. Where am I going to put you? Where am I going to put you in the house? What routine am I going to put together with you, for you, right? So feeding a dog, that's a great part of my routine with the dog.
Okay, and in terms of how you physically feed them, or in terms of being reliable for time, like what are the important factors?
I would say it's a combination of everything.
Okay.
Right? So because we know dogs love routine and they're always watching us, right? So, is she going to do that? Is she going to do that? So your routine helps to get the dog's mind into its own routine and understanding of what's going to happen next.
Okay.
Okay. So once I get that going, I go out with the dog in the yard all the time. I never leave a new dog unsupervised in my yard.
Right.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So I allow the dog to start to decompress and sniff and do things that dogs love to do. Right? And then I might just sit down and ignore it. If it comes over to me, I might either give it a cookie, or at that time, remember, my body language has changed. I'm sitting down. I'm more open. Whereas when I stand up, I'm a big boss. Right? So when I sit down and if he wants to come over to me, I might just look at him and go, hey, buddy, how you doing? Right? I don't go, oh, hi, how are you? Right?
That felt weird again. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it's a process, but it can happen fairly quickly unless there's something mentally or physically wrong with the dog, which who's going to tell you that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's an interesting thought. Do you, in this process, do you ever do like a vet check? Do the owners do a vet check? Let's talk about that for a second, because that's a big deal. Swanee tells a really great story about when you worked at Mauve and that golden retriever, the family. the crayon.
Oh, right. Yes. So when I worked at Mauve, we had a golden come in that had bit a child. And they had brought the dog in to be euthanized because it had bit the child. And the vet did a little bit of an examination, and they found a crayon jammed into the dog's ear. So the dog, the dog had been in excruciating pain, and the child had touched the dog's ear, and the dog had lashed out.
Yes.
And they removed the crayon, and the dog was back to its normal, easygoing self.
Yeah.
So,
and that dog hadn't had any history of anything
No
like
history,
that
no.
before. It just came
it just lashed out suddenly at
out
a
of the
child.
blue.
Yes. Mhm.
Crayon in
and
my
there was
ear,
a
but-
crayon stuck down the dog's ear.
Bad.
Yeah. Isn't that horrible?
So
good vet.
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing. Sorry, I just have to adjust.
That's okay.
That's when I'm working an aggression case. When I'm working an aggression case, one of the first things I say is, your dog healthy as far as you know?
Okay.
Okay, that to me is the most important thing to start off with. If they hadn't been to the vet in over a year, I might, and depending on what the situation was, I might suggest you get the dog to the vet first, get blood work done, do something, just something, right?
Yeah.
And so then we go from there. When I bring a new dog in, if it's not aggressive towards people, I will book it into the vet immediately.
Okay.
I remember a big old lab I brought in, and I wasn't planning on
You
taking
can
it.
hear the smile in your voice as you're saying this. This beautiful big smile just came across your face.
His name was Mickey, and I went to assess the dogs on behalf of Labrador Rescue. One, they had an Australian Shepherd that the in-laws were going to keep them, but they said, we want him to go. He was so overweight, and he had this big bulbous ear going on one side. I had brought all my dogs with me on the assessment, and I said, okay, I'll take him. And I'm thinking to myself, he's sitting in the front seat. I know that's not good, but he's sitting in the front seat of my van because the back of the van was full, and I'm not putting in with my dogs.
Understood.
It's a mosh pit back there.
So we drive home. God, I loved him. So anyways, he got out of the car. He cocked his leg on my husband's car wheel. And then I brought him in the house, got him all settled, and he went right in the crate next to me, next to my side of the bed, slept all night, took him to the vet in the morning. They knew the dog. They knew that they had it in their system. It was Paris Vet Clinic.
Okay, I love Paris Vet Clinic.
And they had done the surgery on his ear.
Okay.
And he had a hematoma that they had stitched up like a few years ago. Well, the stitch was still in it, and it kept festering and getting disinfected. But the dog he just went with it.
Oh, the poor dog.
I know, he went. Anyways, he ended up going to live with my niece, and he was just the coolest dog. Just the coolest dog. So, yes, getting them to the vet, I believe, is the first thing we want to do. And if they have to be neutered or spayed, one thing I always do is I always ask them to x-ray the hips, too, at the same time while they're under. It's just something
Especially if it's a great big large breed that's
Good
known
to have
for
that
sore hips.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So is this is something that you do when it's an aggression case, or is this something that you do like across the board with any rescue dog that you take in?
I would want to do it with any rescue dog that I take in. If it is a human aggressive, the dog is human aggressive, and I know it's gone past a point of no return, then I will get it muzzled and get it into the vet, get blood work at the very least done.
Okay.
And then my job starts when I bring it home.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's always good to know that information. Like if there's some sort of underlying reason that there would be a pain response from the dog, like that's just such crucial information to know to be able to actually effectively help in any way. Are there other things that you consider when the dog is first coming in so that you have as much of the information as you possibly can? Like, do you look at case history? Do you look at, I know you said you look at their lifestyle.
If I have a case history, I want to know as much as I can.
Okay.
With dogs that I see that people know nothing about, I always say, I'm going to caution you. This, in my opinion, this dog has behavioral baggage.
Okay.
Don't just start treating him like the sweetest guy in the world, because you don't know if you touch him a certain way, if he's going to react to that.
Yeah.
So getting to know the dog is really important. And I'm not a nutritionist by any sense, but I believe that a dog's digestive system is something that you should really evaluate also, especially when they come in. And then, I don't know if you remember this, Christine. I got, he was a 6-week-old Kelly from Kelly.
Rocket Relay?
Yeah, Kelly from Rocket Relay. She was working out in Hamilton, and she goes, Val, I got this puppy. It's 6 weeks old. It's a Labrador puppy. And I was really busy at the time.
Okay.
And I said, I'll come and have a look at it. But, so.
Another smile. I'm going to guess this maybe.
It wasn't a purebred, but it didn't matter. Right. So I brought him home. But the thing is, they found this puppy abandoned under a truck or something somewhere. And they brought it in. They said it was not Kelly. She called me because she wanted me to help the puppy. But they said, this puppy was really aggressive over food and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, if he's aggressive, it was a girl. If she's aggressive, she's probably had to fight for every piece of food she could get in her little tummy. Anyways, I had her for 6 months, and I rehomed her with a family out in Ajax, and she was just an absolute sweetheart.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So how many rescue dogs would you say at this point that do you even have a ballpark number
that I've helped?
You've brought through this program?
I'm gonna say less than 500, but it's been a lot.
Okay, how long have you been doing this for then? I have to quantify that.
35, 40 years.
All right, nice. Okay, all right. So this is not a new hobby.
She was a baby.
You,
she was still in diapers when she started.
Weren't we all? I'm still in diapers right now.
Great.
That's why I'm alone on my couch.
I knew there was a spot.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would like to, you know what? If I haven't brought them home, I've been involved.
Yes. Right.
So,
yes.
That does seem like a high number, doesn't it? But that's the first, I know it's been a few hundred.
Right? Definitely, yes.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if you'd kept a record.
I really wished I'd kept a picture of every single one.
Oh, that would be
now?
good. Yeah.
Oh,
now
I've got too many
it's so easy now. Yes, with
yeah.
our cameras. Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
I gotta tell you, I had this one that I took out of someone's house, and it was a collie cross.
Okay.
Like a rough collie cross. And the gentleman was a truck driver, lived with his mom, but he was on the road so much. Mom was going, no, we can't keep him. We can't keep him. So I brought her home. I don't remember her name. I can see her in my head, but I brought her home, and I had her for a few weeks. And then, of course, I have to find them the home. So a friend of mine went to visit this family that lived out in the country with me with the dog. They were the perfect family. Aww. No, they were perfect. The dog was easy. Dog was perfect, everything. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll let you know. So I get in the car, and they had a really long driveway. Oh. So I got the dog, and I've got my friend in the car, and I can feel her eyeballs burning inside of my head.
And you're trying to pretend you don't.
And I'm like just driving, and she's looking at me, and she goes, Val? And I go, yeah? She goes, you got to turn around, right? And we did. But sometimes it's really hard to let go.
Oh, I bet.
Yes.
I don't know if I could do it, to be quite honest.
I have to do it because then I have to help the dog.
Yeah,
right. Yes.
Absolutely. It would be an incredible headspace to get into, to make that deal with yourself, right? To detach your head from your heart for long enough to be able to say, okay, this is what's right for the dog. This dog needs a family that's going to, give it everything, and I need to move on to the next rescue that I can help. So, okay. So
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So if a family's looking for a rescue dog, say I've decided to go and I want an adult rescue dog, what tips do you have for when I meet that dog? I know my first response would be to run up to the dog and, hey, look, I'm going to give you a great family and home. But what should I be doing? Should I be standing back and assessing the dog, or what?
Well, the first thing, if there was enough of us, what I would rather do is, especially people that have never had a dog, I'd like them to come and talk to us. I'd like them just have a conversation with a dog trainer, right? And because what I see a lot of times is dogs that should never have been placed in the homes that they've been placed in, okay? Because then that creates heartache for the people because they feel bad and sad. So,
and it's heartache all round, really. Eh? Like just everybody, the rescue spot, the dog, the people. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep
No.
going.
So, so if they haven't talked to anybody, one of the things that I always say is, do a little bit of research. Do research into all the different breeds as best you can. See what their normal traits are. Look at your lifestyle. See if you have the time and energy to put into a more energetic breed. Once you've made that decision, say you go and you see a mixed breed dog. Am I allowed to say one of my pet peeves?
Yeah. You can say two of them.
Well, usually one of my pet peeves is, and I understand people's hearts are in the right place, that they want to find homes for all these dogs. But if it's not the right match, that could cause more heartache for the people and for the dog. Yeah. Okay. So the people, when I take care of a dog, I had the coolest dog 2 years ago. Oh, I said no to 5 people. Okay. And the dog would have adjusted to every single one of those people, but I didn't like their lifestyle for this dog.
Gotcha.
Right? So I choose the perfect family. They're just awesome. So, but what people want to go in at, they have to have a discussion. What kind of dog? Let's do some research. And when you see a dog, it's really hard because you just fall in love. And, you have to rely on what the agency is telling you. Right. Sometimes they tell you nothing. Sometimes they just say, oh, it'll be fine. Do you have a fenced yard? Do you have time for the dog? But they might know more about that dog that would be better information for the people to know before they make a decision. Right.
You're almost best to go, not even look at what dogs they have. Just go to the rescue agency and say, this is what we're looking for. And then the rescue agency say, oh, you know what? We have this one, we have that one. And hopefully they're honest to give you the dogs.
That's the key. I had an elderly gentleman, just took in a husky.
Okay.
And loved them, loved the breed, lots of energy, beautiful, gorgeous dogs. This dog was only a year old and had never been left alone. And this gentleman would go out all the time, and right away, within a week, the dog is being destructive within his home, and he can't leave. And his girlfriend's kind of upset that they can't leave the house. So we created a program for him, and hopefully it's working for him.
Good.
But cases like that,
right?
Yeah, and he had no idea going into that.
No, because he always had little wee tiny dogs. Gotcha. No, and you wouldn't know because the dog was gorgeous. When I worked with the dog was awesome. Yeah, but it had that one little glitch.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I mean, so some of these dogs, they're coming out of different situations. One might be coming out of a shelter. One might be coming out of a foster situation. So do you find that there is more sharing of information in one system over another?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay, like the actual person running the rescue.
Yeah, because you've got great rescues, you've got great foster homes, and I think it matters who that person is. I think it matters how much stress they're under. If, a lot of people say, yeah, I'll help. And then once they get that dog home, it's like, oh my God, this dog's a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a case of just whoever will take him, which sounds really bad. It is really bad. But it's just reality, right?
Yeah, that's the heart pulling at trying to get this dog a home. I want to get back to sort of the decompression period because I think that this is such a woefully misunderstood time for the dog, and often there's so much pressure put on the dog by the unintending family. So we were talking about being out in the yard, letting the dog approach you, etc. And I wanted to ask at that point, and then we got off on another tangent, what does trust look like to you? So what are you looking for? Is there sort of a general formula? Does it change with every dog? But what are the signs to you that you think, okay, this dog is starting to trust me. I'm developing this relationship. I can start to move forward.
It sounds really strange, but when I'm working with a dog and we know that dogs watch body language, etc. There's a look that I relate to a dog starting to say, it almost like it goes, takes a deep breath and it goes, oh, okay, this is good. I get it. This is good. Okay. If the dog's moving away from you all the time, right? He's just doing his thing. That's great. Like if I'm out in the yard with the dog, he's doing his thing. That's great. I let him do that. I'll sit down so I'm more welcoming to him. If he comes by me, I don't make a big deal about it. But everything, every step in that dog's routine that I do with that dog affects his relationship with me and the development of the relationship with me. Another example I can use, if a dog hears something and he reacts to it and it's something different for him, but he doesn't know me, he'll run to me.
Okay.
So that's a trigger for me to saying, okay, it's starting to come. It's starting to come. I give you a black and white example. I took in a French bulldog this is a sad situation. Okay. So I took in I was contacted about a French bulldog. They needed some help. I interviewed them on the phone, and it was so bad. They had taken their 5-month-old Frenchie to a board and train where they had left it for 4 weeks.
Okay.
They spent a great deal of money. They used a shock collar on the dog, this 5-month-old puppy. And they got the dog home after a month, and the dog was more aggressive. And they had 2 small boys, 11 and 10, and then the adults. And the dog had a martingale collar on its neck that was thankfully half fabric and half chain. Nobody could touch it. The only person that could touch that dog was the 11-year-old little boy, because he knew it. He got it, played with it, and did leash work and everything with it from the time they got it home. He's a
smart kid.
The relationship, the trust was there, right?
Trusted her.
So at what age was it? He spent 2 months in the crate unless that little boy was taking him in and out of the crate.
Okay.
Nobody else in the house could touch the dog.
Wow.
So then I was contacted and I said, well, this just before Christmas, I said, this isn't a good situation. And more than likely that dog will not be able to be rehomed because it was severely aggressive, and I can't leave a dog with a home with a child. So they worried about a lot of different things, compensation being one of them. I contacted the breeder directly. I said, listen, he goes, I've got another guy I can home it with. And I said, well, that's entirely up to you, but I think the dog needs assessed properly. So then the owners contacted me again. And they said, we can't keep the dog in the house. The breeder's not ready to take the dog back, which was good because it was in an apartment building somewhere. And
the breeder was?
Yes, the breeder was in an apartment, and he had 7 dogs in the apartment.
Oh, my goodness.
And plus breeding.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyways, a friend of mine, I was talking to her, and she goes, Val, he's aggressive towards people. So she says, if you get him and make sure he's okay with all the dogs, I'll take him. And she's got a lot of experience with animal behavior.
Okay.
I said, this is right before Christmas. Anyways, they came over to my house. As soon as I watched that little boy take that dog out of the crate in the truck, put the clip on. As soon as the dog saw me, and I was about 15 feet away, the dog came for me.
Wow.
So all I could do...
Describe what you mean, just for people listening, when he came for you.
He came for me, the little boy, I said to the little boy, I said, make sure you hang on to that leash, okay? And he hung on to the leash. As soon as the dog saw me, it lunged at me. And the lunge and the look of the dog, I thought, wow, he wants to bite me, right? So I got the little boy to come over. I reached over as far as I could. I took the dog and I walked the dog basically in, holding him away from my body as he was trying to lunge and get to me, put him in the house, put him in an X pen. I kept him there in and out, tethered, because safety, right?
Yeah.
6 weeks. In 6 weeks, I started to transition him over to her house. And, you still can't trust him, but he's 2.5 years old and he's got the life of Riley. And he loves her.
Okay,
he likes me.
good.
But getting back to, the reason I was saying this with regards to trust happening is because I had to get that collar off that dog's neck. And I tried a little bit on my own. And I thought, I'm going to get bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bit. I've never bought bite gloves in my life. I bought bite gloves and I bought a noose. Right. Anyways, I had a friend of mine come over who he says, I'm not afraid. I don't worry. He won't bite me. I said, do you want to put the gloves on? He goes, no. Right. Now the thing of trust is coming up, guys, because the dog had been with me for a long time.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're walking out to the porch where the dog was. And the guy says to me, oh, I'll put the gloves on if you want me to.
If you want me.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And you know what? Sure enough, when he stepped out, because we didn't have anything on him other than he's got this short tether attached to a leash, the dog went right for his crotch.
He didn't have gloves on that.
No, but he didn't move forward past that. He lunged for him, and then you know what he did? He ran right back to me and hid behind me.
Oh,
so that's
giant show, eh?
So that's where I thought, oh, he's starting to trust me.
Right.
Good boy. Oh, yeah. And like, what a show of ferocity.
But you want to make sure you're dealing with someone that understands canine behavior because you never want to do that on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, and like, it's not worth it. It sets everything back so much to put all this undue pressure, and you're trying so hard to pull the dog forward in as gentle a way as possible. So anyways, that was a good example.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Great.
Are there other things that you're looking for? I know there's so much feel to dog training, which makes it very hard to articulate some of the things. Like you said, it seems silly. I'm looking for just a look, but it makes perfect sense when you understand that a lot of dog training is about feel and is about moving through things fluidly in the moment. So are there any other things that you look for in terms of are there specific benchmarks that you try to count on?
Benchmarks, it's how I feel and how the dog's reacting to my direction or my interactions with the dog.
Okay.
I've done a lot of reconditioning of dogs that don't touch me, don't put that thing on me. It can take weeks with a lot of repetitions during the day.
You've worked with dogs too with grooming issues, dogs that need to be groomed, but you can't get anywhere near them.
No, and that took, I had one Portuguese water dog. She's passed away, and I'm the only one that could do her nails. It took me a whole year to get her to the point where she would let me do her nails without saying, I think I need to bite you.
Okay.
And she had bitten 5 groomers prior to me meeting her at a year old.
Were you using trimmers, Dremel, both, either?
I tell you, I changed to using a Dremel when my eyesight started to change.
Oh, okay.
Because I love doing dog nails. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
And every Saturday morning, my dogs had to line up and I'd go from oldest to youngest. And so I started using the Dremel because basically when you do it that often, I'm just going bzz, 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 real quick, just the tips of their nails, and it keeps them nicely back.
Awesome. I found that Reggie, I just said goodbye to him at the midway point of 2022. He was 15 and a half, but I found that as he got older, his nails got more brittle and the Dremel was so much nicer for him because there wasn't any of the twisting when you clip, et cetera. And of course, if your clippers aren't sharp enough, then you end up with some twisting and whatnot. But I found that the Dremel, he was just like, oh, this is so much nicer. Yeah. So I really like the Dremel. It takes a lot more time, I find, than with my younger dogs because their nails are thick or whatever. And I do once a week too. But I really like the Dremel. What do you do?
I use clippers. Honda has, Honda's my first dog with fuzzy feet. Everyone else had smooth paws. And so you could just go in and clip. And I think I would have tried a Dremel with them. But Honda with his big fuzzy feet, I'd be so afraid of getting hair caught in the Dremel. And I know they would turn off, I guess, right away, but they don't. Okay. Yeah. Then, yeah.
No, you have to, for me, when I've got fuzzy feet, Kleenex. and I shove the nail through the Kleenex. I hold the Kleenex back, and then I do that.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Kleenex. I've heard someone say like the orange bags before, like the
clementines
mesh.
come in. Yes,
that's it.
yeah.
Clementine bags.
Oh,
That would hold
See,
back.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know, because I still think a little hair could get out.
It
'cause
probably
I
could,
can't
yeah.
stand
I like
most of the
Kleenex.
time having my hair pulled.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when
I agree.
when my son,
most of the time.
when my son was little, I'm just going to gloss over what Val just said.
We don't gloss over on the McCann Dogs podcast, Swanee. Come on.
When my son was little, I don't know how, but almost every time we played with those little electric or wind up toys, they'd always get caught in my hair. Like, I don't know how many times I had like a truck stuck in my hair or a little car stuck in my hair. And I know what that felt like. So I don't want Honda to get the Dremel stuck in his hair.
No.
But yeah, there's quite a few times I'd be like, I need help. Somehow this truck tire got wound up in my hair.
Swanee's wandering down the street. Help me, please.
I got a truck in my hair.
There's a toy in my hair. Okay, let's get back to dogs.
Okay, and one thing I would like
Yeah,
to say
please
about
do.
grooming with a rescue dog, with dogs that come in. I use a lot of food when I'm grooming a dog, putting a lot of pressure on a dog with regards to, combing their ears, doing whatever. But I think grooming your own dog when you can, depending on how much grooming they need, but even just combing them and doing their nails and examining them is one of the best ways to gain trust and respect.
Okay, interesting. And do you find that is, like, why would you say that is?
Because I'm putting pressure on a dog, and if he's never experienced it before, that can be difficult for some dogs.
Right.
They move away or they mouth you quickly or whatever. So I want to condition him to accept any pressure that I put on his body. Don't be afraid of me.
Okay.
Don't become defensive.
Okay.
And I just think it's a great exercise to do with your dog, if you can, on a weekly basis. And if it's only like comb their ear and give them a cookie, walk away. Like anything you can do with that dog.
Gotcha. So if you have a dog that is, say, trying to mouth that you are trying to get out of that situation, what is your adjustment strategy with that?
So that could vary. Now, are we talking a dog that's just turning and mouthing and going, please don't do that? I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Let's start there. Yeah.
Okay. So if I know a dog's uncomfortable with something, then I've put too much pressure on him to accept it.
Okay.
So I'll take a few steps back. I might do a big stroke down its back and give it a cookie. And there's ways that I set it up, right? Most dogs on a grooming table are standing in one direction.
Right.
And they're tethered.
Yeah.
So I'll put my dogs in one direction. I'll put the food bowl usually on a step ladder in front of me.
Okay.
And I do it up against a wall so I have extra safety. And so I just put the dog on the table and I keep feeding it from that food bowl so it stays in that direction. Sorry, banged the mic. So it stays in that direction. And then I'll put more pressure. I might just big stroke down the back, give it a cookie, put it on the floor, give it another cookie, and I'll walk away from it.
Okay.
I want the dog to go, geez, is it my turn? And Christine, have you ever seen any of my videos where the dogs actually, makes me go all fuzzy, they line up while I'm doing other dogs' nails?
How great is that?
Is it my turn
Yeah,
yet?
right.
No,
they want their turn.
no,
Yeah.
I have to go, no, go away. It's not your turn.
Oh, yes, yes.
I love that.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay, so, and then you said it depends on the situation. So that was our dog that's just, giving you a mild little bug off, trying to escape that situation because they're feeling too much pressure. What if it's a little bit more serious?
If he's going to bite me. So we know that how we handle a dog physically to protect ourselves from a bite is very important to learn how to do that. So if I have a great big dog, see, I just don't go there until I'm ready, guys.
Okay, and
But
this is
yes.
great information.
So if I have a great big dog and I need to do something quick because it needs me to, check a nail because it's, I'm still not going to do it. I don't want that dog to rehearse biting or trying to bite me, so then I have to. But let's say some dog comes after me. I can give you a perfect example.
Okay, yeah.
So 10-month-old golden retriever, okay? There was more to the story. I didn't do my due diligence on my research.
Okay,
So
like
there was
the history part.
The history
Okay.
part, and I really liked the dog. It was a cool dog from what I saw. And so the dog had a toy. I asked the questions. And this is where I start not to trust people's understanding of dog behavior. I asked the questions and he goes, well, I don't know how to get it out of his mouth. And I said, okay. I said, so they're tugging and playing. I said, so I want you to take the dog and I just want you to get the dog to sit and then hold the toy towards the dog's face. So you're not putting that pull on it, right? And he goes, I don't know what you mean. I said, okay. So I took the dog by the collar.
Okay. And
wow. No. I have never, I don't even think there was a millisecond in between my touching the dog's collar and the dog coming for me.
okay.
No, he meant it. He said, I'm going to bite you. So now, luckily, I had him by the collar. So I manipulated his collar and his body to prevent him from biting me. Okay, but he meant it.
Right.
So I had to coordinate the actions with the owner and say, pick up the leash. And I said, when I say now, you pull back. And that's the only way I could let go of the collar without getting bit, because I didn't have the leash in my hand.
Okay.
And you know what the gentleman said to me? He goes, why were you so calm? I go, what do you mean? He goes, why didn't you get angry and correct the dog? I said, because the dog's past the point of no return.
Yeah.
Right,
He
yeah.
just wants to bite me
Right.
to
Yeah.
get me to let go of him. And I said, as a trainer, I can't let that happen. So you put the pressure on the other side. When I let go, that pressure still continued, and then you made him sit. Right?
Yeah.
I don't believe you can ever tell anybody what to do to protect themselves from a dog fight, but a bite, you have to have that physical control, or
Yeah.
else you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that scenario then, let's say, I mean, I'm not sure what you ended up doing moving forward with the dog in terms of like how much more you had working with this person, et cetera. But say you needed to get that dog completely over that problem then and make this dog into a safe dog to touch in any of these, like, casual situations. First off, do you think it's possible? And second off, what sort of protocol would you go about to develop all of those things? The trust, and then the understanding, and then the ability to accept that handling.
So right away, I think of the family unit, and I think who's capable. If there had been children in that home, I would have said contact the breeder.
Okay.
Because the reason is I can't trust people to do what they're supposed to do. Okay.
Yeah.
And safety's always number one. And I don't want any kid getting bit in the face by a dog.
Yeah.
When I see it's that extreme. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's a life-changing event.
Exactly.
It truly, in so many ways.
Yes. Beautiful big golden retriever. One of the things was the wife of the couple had said to me was, but I thought dogs were allowed to growl at you,
Okay.
which was a flag for me. And then the husband's pretty easygoing, and he goes, no, I'm comfortable. I feel pretty comfortable with the dog. So I've got two people in the family that, well, maybe the husband can handle the dog because the dog would have a different relationship with him, but it's obviously pushing the wife around. Okay. And she couldn't get the dog just to do a basic sit with it being sit and on a collar. So in that case, I have to really think about it. And if that dog were coming to me, it would be on such a strict program, like,
Right.
Like a boot camp program. And would I trust it ever? 100%? No.
Okay.
Because what they learn first, they learn best. And he was a big, confident dog. He was like a cool dog. Now, if that dog went to someone with experience and wanted to really work him and train him and make him into a working dog, which I've placed dogs with MNR. That was
And
would
what's
have been-
MNR?
Ministry of Natural Resources. I placed a black lab with them that would have been euthanized.
Okay.
because it was too
much for a family
way
dog,
too much.
but awesome working dog. And that happens a lot,
I know.
right?
No.
That this is why we talk about researching your breed and making sure it's going to match your lifestyle ad nauseum, and we still see so many mismatches out there. So please make sure you know what you're getting into with your dog's body.
But it's also education, and we're doing the best we can. There's so many dog trainers out there. We're doing the best we can to try and educate people. But most pet owners get a dog just to love and be a part of their family.
Understandably, that's what they want.
Yes.
That's what a pet. That's what if I was getting a pet, bringing a pet into my house as a family dog, I would just want a sweet little lap dog, right?
Right. Yeah. Like you grew up with a great dog and you want your kids to grow up with a great dog.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So at what point does that become misguided with the wrong?
Well, and that's part of my job, which isn't it isn't a part that I enjoy, but I have to be honest with people if the dog's just not right for them, and then we have to take the next step as to what we do.
Right. Are you ever in a situation where you get to front end load that? Like someone's come to you and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about this rescue dog. Can you help me? Can you give me your opinion on whether you think this is a good match?"
People that know me or people that have had experience with me, yes, they'll come in and they'll ask me, and they'll just look for some guidance if they want me to go see the dog. But it doesn't happen very often because people think, oh my God, I just want to love a dog. I'm just going to go in, look how cute he is.
Yeah.
And then it's usually after the fact. And sometimes it's after the fact when other behaviors have already been developed.
Right.
I'd like to grab them before it happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be ideal? Right. Well, and in a lot of ways you do, but it's more about the puppy angle than...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. The puppy stuff I can help a lot with. And, the rescue groups that do such a great and fabulous job, maybe their protocol or their guidance could be slightly adjusted. Usually, now, not everybody, but usually it's like put a martingale on the dog so it can't escape from you. Let the dog, give the dog 3 weeks so you get to know it. But usually that's kind of the guidance they're given.
That's it. Give the dog 3 weeks before what? Like before walking, before
you get to really get to know the dog over in a 3. Oh no, they wouldn't say, who knows what they would say.
So there's there's not usually a guidance in terms of how to live with the dog for those 3 weeks. It's just in 3 weeks things
I'm not familiar with a rescue group that goes to that extreme.
Okay.
Right? I deal with a rescue group that is amazing, and they've been around for 30 some years.
Okay.
And but they're always there to help no matter what. They don't abandon.
Okay.
They never abandon.
Yes, because so many rescue groups, I think, here's your dog.
Yeah.
Take, and I'll take your money and then leave it at that.
Do you know one of the first questions I ask people when they come in with a rescue dog?
What's that?
Where'd you get him from?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did he come out of the back of a truck in a parking lot? Yeah.
Oh,
That tells me a lot about what the dog's state of mind was in, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the handoff.
So, and lucky if everything works out perfect.
Yeah.
That's wonderful that you've done that. But if there's a problem, be prepared that, it might take a little bit to either fix or manage.
Right. So, what is your goal then? So somebody gets a rescue, needs some help with it, or the rescue contacts you and says, "We need some help with this dog. Can you take it on for whatever length of time?" Do you establish a length of time beforehand?
Well, I don't do that as often as I used to anymore. I'm more likely to go to where the dog is being fostered, and I will help them put a program together for the dog. So it's on their responsibility to work with the dog. Now, if I get to know the dog, I will stay connected and go with the dog to where it's being rehomed.
Okay.
If I feel
if
it should be rehomed, if they don't like that, I don't want the dog to go there, then I have to step back.
Okay. Yeah, understandably.
Yeah.
Understandably. And as much as I can tell that you're using both your head and your heart, it would be hard to turn off either in any of these cases. So
Absolutely.
I can completely appreciate you need to protect yourself as well, and especially from an emotional perspective, because your knowledge is going to feed that emotion so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, so in your sort of perfect world scenario, when you get to the quote unquote end, it's not the end, it's the new beginning for this dog. But when you get to the end of the duration of your time with this dog, what would you love for it to look like? Like, what is your goal in this scenario to create for this dog?
Are we talking the puppy or the rescue?
Let's stick with the rescue.
Good. Okay. Yes.
Puppies are sort of a blank slate.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So when I take in a rescue, I kind of analyze, assess, see what it needs, see how its strengths and weaknesses. Put a program, a basic program, because people want things to be fairly simple.
Okay.
Put a basic program that I think is relative to their lifestyle.
Okay.
And then just drill it into them. You have to be consistent. However, if you slip up once in a while, let it go, but make sure you go back to what you were doing before. Right. And see, we all know that sometimes we see a dog and it's doing really, really well, and then we slack off. Yeah. Right? And
sort of human condition, right?
Exactly.
It's going great. I don't need to work at that anymore.
Right,
yeah. I was skinny back in my 30s. I don't have to worry about weight now.
I know.
If only.
Yeah. So then they worry and they go, well, he was doing so good before, and I have to explain to them, but you need to continue. For this particular dog, you need to continue to give him that support and guidance and control him in that sense. Because remember, you didn't have him from a little wee baby puppy. Right? He's brought baggage with him. So if we get to the point, and if that dog, like you see a lot of really cool dogs, as soon as you start to give them information, they thrive.
Yeah. Right.
And then I push them to do more. Some people won't, but I push them, go to classes, do some research, see what was one of the big ones before was scenting. I don't know if that's huge now too. I think it still is. Go and do something with your dog if you want to, or just learn how to play with your dog.
Yeah.
Right. Dogs love it when they find someone they can communicate with.
Absolutely.
So that's often when dog trainers go to just a general house party and there's a dog there, often the dogs hang out with us because...
And the dog trainer wants to hang out with the dog.
Right. It's because we communicate in a clear fashion to the dog, and the dog's like, I like this. This person gets me.
Yeah. And they give us that back.
Right.
I never stayed in a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
When I was with, it was years ago, I was, probably 30 years ago. And a friend and I worked the same shift. So on our days off, we go on road trips. And she didn't drive, so I would drive. She'd make all the food. So anyways, we went on this road trip, and we were out in Peterborough. Not that far, but it was really dark out at night. And she goes, oh, I'm looking for a bed and breakfast. And I go, I don't know about that. Anyways, she goes, come on. So she called these people. The wife wasn't home. The husband was home. And he said, okay, and he gave her directions. And I said, okay, what are the directions? It's across from a cemetery.
Those are the directions?
Yeah, well, it was
look for the dead people. We're across the street.
Yeah, it's across from a cemetery, and it's out in the country, and I'm like, oh. God, I don't know. Anyways.
Like the Bates Hotel forming right in front of your eyes.
It's the beginning of a horror movie, yes. Yeah.
So you know what I said to her? I said, okay, I'll go if they have a dog. That was me. I said, I'll go in the house if they have a dog. Well, it was a really cool old century farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the door opens up, and it's a guy, and I remember he had a hole in his sock. But next to the sock,
socks make an impression.
First impressions. Woo, let me see your socks. Okay. But I'm at ease now.
Yeah. But when I looked from his sock to the other side of his body, there was a black lab sitting there, and I said, okay, I'm staying.
Yes. This guy let the black lab put a hole in his sock, and there's black lab. I'm good.
Yeah. And being that was a lab, too, was, yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
They were the nicest people you could imagine.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
perfect.
yes.
Yeah, Bound by dogs.
Yep.
Dogs bring us all together.
They do.
They make a
Yeah.
huge
Yes.
difference in this world. All right. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to leave us with?
No, I just want, my biggest thing for people is look at the breed of dog, spend some time with it, okay? And then make a routine for it. Stick with the routine for a few weeks. Let the dog decompress. Let the dog adjust to its new environment and people and that. And then start to have, and you can always have fun with it, but then you can start to expose it to other things that might have not been the best idea the first week you were there.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Take it slow, seek help, and have fun with the dog, but from a distance where you're not putting pressure on them. I love that. That's so helpful. All righty. Well, you know what? We have gone a long time here. I think that we definitely need to have you on again because you have a wealth of expertise that we can dive into and talk about. But until next time, I'm Instructor Shannon.
Instructor Swanee.
Val!
Happy training, everybody.
Bye-bye.
The McCann Dogs Podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at mccanndogs.com. Happy training!